Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today on the program. The program is called The New American Media's The Agree to Disagree Show. Today is Tuesday, June 11, 2024. We're going to talk about who just took responsibility for the absence of security on J6. Now, maybe they didn't just take responsibility, but now we can hear them in their own words admitting what they did. It's, I get a little. Remember that Trump?
Ryan, you're getting ahead of yourselves. You're supposed to do the headlines. You're already throwing your opinion in it.
Remember,
you're trying not to throw your opinion in it, but you are.
Remember that Trump
shiny objects, and then Brian. Whoa, yeah, okay. Stick focus. All right.
Remember when Trump said, "We're going to win so much, we're going to get tired of winning." This is just yet another topic that the New American Media has been correct about, that we've been reporting on for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, going on 4 years now, reporting accurately, having our content taken down, told that we're lying, being gaslit right in front of us, whizzing all over our leg and saying it's raining. It's not raining. We've been right about all of it. It was Fauci last week. It's Pelosi and J6 this week. It's Hunter this week. What else can we possibly get into? Just consider the sources that you're absorbing. If you're not getting these stories years in advance, you are being manipulated and lied to. So today's episode is going to be, it's going to be nice. It gets a little tired. It's a little tiresome. We get tired of winning because we're winning so much here. But
yep, Brian, I'm expecting to win. I'm expecting YouTube to make an announcement. They're going to apologize to me. They're going to elevate my channel and boost my views, and they're going to cut me a check for $20,000. They're going to say, "We were wrong. You were right." Sorry, dude.
I love it.
That's the way the world works.
That's a great plan. No, but instead what we've done is we've built alternate economies over here. You don't like the US dollar, there's Bitcoin. You don't like YouTube, there's Rumble. You don't like Facebook, there's Truth Social. And guess what? X has flipped. X went from crazy to it's a free-for-all. It's actually a decent place to be because you can be surrounded by opinions and ideas that make you uncomfortable and you disagree with. And if you don't like it, you scroll past it or unfollow them. It's not complicated. It's how the internet is supposed to be. So yeah, I don't expect Google, YouTube, Alphabet to admit the error of their ways. But if they're bankrupted, maybe people like Vivek. Vivek just purchased. What was? Do you remember what it was? Which one?
BuzzFeed.
Yeah. So he has I forget what kind of share they say, but he gets to steer the content. So anyway, we're going to talk about Pelosi and J6. Today, we're going to talk about Hunter Biden, his conviction. We will kind of pull that one apart and see what we're supposed to take away from there. We're also going to ask if certain people, politicians and media members, and I use the word media loosely, should they be thrown in internment camps? Also wondering about Joe Biden's latest catastrophic catatonic episode. Does it prove that he's unfit for office? That is our picture, our thumbnail for today. Make sure that you thank Blake for making the fun thumbnails for our shows. Blake always brings the heat, brings the fire on those thumbnails, so thank you for that. Also, we're going to ask about banks. Is there a problem looming with these banks? Well, if I put it on the stack today, maybe it's because the answer is maybe. We're going to dig into it. Also, should every member of Congress have a babysitter? And is it okay for journalists to be secret terrorists? We'll save that for our final 5 minutes. But right now, we will welcome Blake Walley, TV's Blake Walley, to the program. Hi, Blake. Thanks for joining us. How was your weekend, sir? Things good in your world?
Yeah, pretty good. I was in North Carolina for the weekend at the Spruce Pine Alien Festival with Mike Barra and Dr. Brooks Agnew. As you can see, I got quite a sunburn. It wasn't that hot out. It was only 77, maybe 79 degrees, but they're actually at quite a bit of altitude. Yeah. And so that does make a huge difference. And just running around down the streets up the festival, getting food and checking out the vending booths and all that stuff. But just even a couple hours, I wasn't prepared for it. And no sunblock. I really burned. It's faded a bit, but I had some pretty bad burn there. Anyway,
Yeah,
yes, I had a great weekend.
I was gonna say it doesn't look that bad. Doesn't look that bad at a first glance, at least. I'm not seeing it, but yes, maybe it faded away. What was the highlight of the weekend? That sounded like a lot of fun. Were you guys able to do a live show?
No, there's only one hotel that would have allowed us to do a live show. Yeah, people were saying that, but it just wasn't able to get away and then get to a internet spot to do that. We were just kind of hanging out doing our thing. But there was some great speeches. I'll have to post some highlights. Dr. Brooks Agnew did a speech on asteroid mining and some interesting stuff, and then Mike Barra on the secret space program and JFK. And did they? JFK must have pissed everybody off in the high levels of government, and it's hard to say who killed him, but it's certainly was a group effort, and there were a lot of reasons they wanted him dead. And yes, it sucks because we could be living in a much better world right now if Kennedy had stayed alive and did to the deep state back then before it manifested into the monstrosity it has today. And hopefully Trump can get back in office and finish the job. And now you see all the panicking. They're all like, oh, what happens if Trump gets in? They're going to throw us in jail. Well,
they earned it. They did it to themselves, and this is decades overdue. This is the overthrow of a nation. Like, I understand there's money at stake. We understand there's important geopolitical actions, but we are the ones that make these decisions. We work within the realm of this. We are not servants and slaves to an oligarchy that just does whatever it wants, and they run roughshod on anything else. And we're talking about space exploration, Blake, the Dr. Brooks Agnew speech about getting asteroids, meteoroids, whatever, out there and mining the resources. I mean, it's coming out today, pretty much the same thing we've been saying for a long time, talking about how Ukraine and Russia, this potential nuclear World War III, is about stealing tens of trillions of dollars of coal and lithium and various minerals that are in the Donbass region over near the Ukraine, which refers to a region of Russia. And this is all about the deep state just trying to risk nuclear World War III to steal some stuff from Putin. And it's like, this is the best our government can do. I don't know. Maybe we're not smart enough to understand just what a brilliant idea this is. But it kind of seems like we're getting on the hook for things that we're writing checks that we can't cash in many regards. And there's a lot of roosters coming home to roost. Chickens coming home to roost, rather. So, yeah, I'm very curious. What did Dr. Brooks Agnew say about harvesting all those minerals? Is it something feasible, likely, or is he saying we've been doing it?
Oh, this would take a lot of. It would be quite a challenge, and it's something that would have to be done in the future. And it depends on the population growing and what have you, and work on the moon. Just interesting topics about. What life would be like if we expanded to Mars and there were, generations of humans growing up there, and how different it would be with, gravity being what it is and how that would affect the body. And yes, it talks about like The Expanse and some of the science fiction shows and how that would really change everything just within our own system, just humanity going off world, and how different levels of gravity and such would really make everything very unusual for us.
Well, there was an interesting
whatever you want to call that, but it would spring up. You'd be Martians, off-worlders, Earthlings.
Yeah, there was a movie called Moon. Sam, what's the actor's name? Sam from Rockwell. There we go. Thank you. I didn't want to leave that hanging. Good job, Blake. Nice assist. I almost fumbled that out of bounds, and you hit a 3-pointer as time expired. Thank you. By the way, go Mavericks, down 0-2 against the Celtics. A good movie with Sam Rockwell called Moon, and it's a guy who's working on the moon, mining the resources, and he discovers. Sorry, spoiler alert on a 15-year-old movie, if I can, but there's growing sections, kind of like the Matrix scene where they're pods and you're just kind of growing humans. that he's a replica. He's a duplicate. He's a clone. He's a clone of himself. And then it's like, well, what even is there a soul left in a clone? You know, it kind of gets you thinking about stuff. But yeah, it's very interesting, especially seeing how the powers that be who have staged overthrows and coups to probably Nixon in 73, to Kennedy in 60, was that 61 or no, 63?
63, November 22nd.
63. And then I think it was 73 when they took out Nixon, or somewhere around there. They definitely took their shot at Reagan. They definitely overthrew Trump in 2020. Go back in time, you wonder how many times this has happened. And it's just, these people are out over their skis, Blake. They have overextended themselves. They have gotten way too cocky. The puppet strings of government, just to steal tens of trillions of dollars of minerals from the Donbass region. We're gonna get into World War III over this, while our country is being invaded. Can you please make it make sense? You know, we have our own people struggling on our streets trying to survive, and everything's upside down, and all this money is just being laundered around us, and it's too much to even comprehend. So anyway, fascinating topic. I am very interested in learning about that. But for now, let's jump into the number one topic of the day, and I'm going to say that that's Nancy Pelosi. As I said in the intro, we are definitely going to talk about Hunter Biden and his guilty verdict in a moment. But in general, this is a much more important story. Blake, do you agree or disagree that Nancy Pelosi is responsible for the absence of security on January 6th?
Yes, I am going to agree that she was maybe not the one person, but it could be if we had to point out one person, but she would definitely be in that top group. And she has admitted it herself. And now we have this damning new footage that just came out the other day. They're desperately trying to do damage control on that. But so we got J6 footage. This is out of the Federalist showing Pelosi expressing regret over National Guard failure. And she claims in herself, I take responsibility, which I do respect. But she didn't intend this for this to come out. If we really wanted to respect it, would have been out a long time ago. In fact, they were running that sham investigation, and I don't remember seeing that, Brian.
No, I don't remember seeing it either. Is this footage from her own daughter's documentary? Is that what this is?
No, but what's interesting about her daughter's documentary is that they didn't believe it was an insurrection. They were just laughing about it. So this was all big stage, and they had a big film crew. They wanted this all to happen. So if they would have had the National Guard like they requested, then J6 would have just been a giant protest, and that's it. There might have been a few minor skirmishes around, but people would not have gone inside the Capitol. Who cares what Ray Epps says? Trying to, coerce people.
And remember, everybody, we were there, and there was a group that moved a massive American flag overhead. I mean, the stuff that you see at sporting events that cover a big portion of the infield, a huge flag. And the people that were screaming from the back that had similar matching khakis, matching brown boots, matching light blue polo shirts on, like that was an operation. Now, I don't know if that was a Proud Boy operation, if that was an Oath Keeper operation, if that was a Fed undercover operation, but like there was a plan to make things chaotic that day so that they would stop talking about the 6 states that just magically decided we're going to stop counting votes, with President Trump up hundreds of thousands on his way to easily blowing through in an overwhelming landslide victory. Instead, they were more concerned about the one person that was shot that day, and that was when they killed an unarmed veteran mother by shooting her in the throat. This was always a setup. This was always a frame job. And President Trump, Blake, has been out there repeatedly saying, I authorized the National Guard on multiple occasions. Kash Patel has been out there saying on multiple occasions, we authorized to have the National Guard there. But then it's now coming out that Milley General Milley was involved with changing the plans the day before. There's a lot to unpack here, not the least of which is Nancy Pelosi basically admitting. I don't know if you have the video, if we wanted to play it.
Yeah, I will. I got a couple of them. Yeah, and we also Mayor Bowser as well. Yeah, there were several people that could have made this happen, and they didn't because it was optics. But we'll get into that. So, new footage released by the House Republicans investigating the Select Committee on Jan 6th from last Congress exposed then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who acknowledged her own culpability in the Capitol turmoil. And so on Monday, yesterday, the House Administration Subcommittee on Oversight released a tape obtained from HBO and filmed, yes, you're right, Brian, by Pelosi's daughter, Alexandra, who published the documentary on the former speaker with the network. Pelosi is captured on camera in an SUV speaking to her chief of staff as the speaker and her team were taken to Fort McNair, and she asks, why weren't the National Guard there to begin with? She asks incredulously, adding that the lack of preparation for mass demonstrations in the Capitol was her responsibility. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more. But don't take my word for it. Listen to Nancy herself.
We have responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have.
You should have.
This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've
like they didn't know how many freaking hundreds of thousands of people were going to be there, and they were like, "Oh, it's like they're blindsided." Like they could not have predicted this.
And by the way, Blake, rewind it about 10 seconds, and let's listen to this part here because Pelosi gets really rattled and confused, like she's having a hard time putting her thoughts together. So as I watch this, and she clearly knows that her daughter is filming her, I'm trying to understand, is she going on the record to pretend that she's astonished at what's going on, or is she legitimately surprised and disheveled and maybe even pissed off at what's occurring? Because she definitely used this to there's something where the reins of power were switched from Pence to Pelosi when this became this urgent national security situation. So I'm just curious, is she pretending or does she legitimately seem surprised and angry? And she's so flustered here. I just want to pay extra attention to this part where she doesn't really say a lot, but she's very flustered. And I don't know that she's faking it.
It's kind of reminiscent of George W. Bush during 9/11 when he was reading the boat or the book about the goat to children, and the book was upside down. And then he admitted that he'd seen the first plane hit the tower on the TV, even though it wasn't televised yet. Yeah, it's like they knew the production was happening, but they couldn't quite get their story straight, and they're like panicking in the moment.
And I guarantee you that it's this is one of two things, Blake. Well, I guess maybe three things. One, they were surprised by all of this. Two, they wanted to just let it happen. They had a hunch it was going to happen because they know what their paid goons, the Soros paid goons, the Antifa, the ones that go to every event and set things on fire and try to topple cars and break through and get away with bloody murder, really. Or they were actively, aggressively involved with a plan to really breach barriers. And it's one of the three. It's just what's more likely. Is it likely she's surprised by all this? Because they definitely used it. You started hearing that insurrection word, and they just lockstep went forward with that theory moving forward. But anyway, I thought it was very interesting how disheveled she sounds here. If you just want to let this play.
All right, we'll start from the beginning. Here we go.
We have responsibility, Terry.
Yeah, Terry.
We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff that should we call the Capitol Police? I mean, the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
Good question, Nancy. Why weren't the National Guard there?
But you know what? Maybe Blake, maybe
Yeah.
she is acting because she obviously knows she's being recorded, and this is her trying to frame Trump. Like, I can't believe Trump didn't have the National Guard there. I can't believe that the Capitol Police didn't have this under control under Trump's watch. So the jury's out for me. I'm trying to understand if I believe
we
she's.
could go for that angle, right? Make it look like it was Trump. Everything's Trump's fault, but he was the one requesting National Guard, and they were the ones declining it.
They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
Yep, they should have absolutely prepared for more, but apparently this was something to do with optics here, but we'll run. So the failure to preemptively...
One quick point there. Let's not lose sight of, we've said it a few times, but I take responsibility. That doesn't seem like she's acting. That seems like she's I don't know. That seemed like a rare moment of honesty if I were just to glance at it. So I don't know. What's
it's refreshing to hear something like that, because most people don't. A lot of these people are just, sociopathic narcissists, and they constantly blame somebody else, never themselves. So that's interesting.
Okay.
But yes, the failure to preemptively deploy the National Guard or even adequately arm the Capitol Police to confront the potential for unrest on that day was published by House Republicans. They barred from Pelosi's select committee established to investigate the riot, went on to probe the security failures at the Capitol anyway, and they found that Pelosi's office coordinated closely with senior security officials in the run-up. But according to former Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sund, who resigned after the riot, Pelosi's deputies turned down requests for preemptive deployment of the National Guard 6 times before the day. So every day, as soon as the new year began, boom, January 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and she declined it. House leadership rejected the precautionary deployment because the Speaker's staff was somehow concerned about the optics of federal reinforcements after railing against the presence of troops in D.C. from 2020. Totally different crowd, and you're having a much bigger crowd, and they still couldn't get that one right. Yeah, so they messed up, and now it's coming out. The truth is eventually it's starting to leak. It's sad that it's 2024 already, and we're just getting wind of this, but at least something is happening, and we can finally get this story straight after all the years, and after they framed it as this violent insurrection overthrowing democracy, the worst thing since the Civil War. But anyway, I digress. So Brian, were we gonna run? She's trying to do damage control with the who's that intelligence asset, Nicole Wallace on MSNBC the other day.
And by the way, pause there for 1 second before you play this clip. This is a great question from Kenneth B. By the way, how did this get leaked? It's so interesting. Like, why now? Why is this coming out today in the news? What took so long, and why today? Who is getting this? That's a great question. I don't have a quick answer to. You don't know either, Blake. Did somebody scoop this, or I don't know.
Well, no, it's from the House Republicans. Digging into this thing now after the fact, after the Democrats had their run, and of course Pelosi, refused to have Jim Jordan and some of the other more prominent Republicans on this committee. Instead, they brought up Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney, because they knew they would, play ball, and they were Trump haters, but they were Republicans in name only, whatever.
Yeah, but let's also add one more component to that.
Yeah.
They lit fire to all of the records, documents, files, findings, everything that they did in this unselect committee. They deleted the evidence against them. They were running a cleanup operation. They say, like, with Diddy and Epstein. It's like, you're never going to see the people who got caught up in that honeypot, because they're assets. You know why? Because they're blackmailed and they're bribable. They're controllable. What they're doing is they're cleaning up the assets, and they're getting rid of these people. Diddy will be next. One day he's going to drop. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but that's exactly what they did to Epstein. They're just kind of playing a cleanup act. And the fact that they were not allowed to get rid of the files and videos in all of this investigation. because Cheney and Pelosi were framing him. Cheney and Pelosi were setting up Trump, and the rest of the deep state was all in on it. And that's really the name of this story. So I'm just going to be really curious how much of that information has actually been deleted or was deletable. So I don't know the answer to that. I feel like Pelosi and her team of lackeys would have been really tight on top of that. But, they say the cover-up gets you most of the time. So if the Republicans are finally starting to release this information, I think this could be a very good thing, Blake. At least I hope so.
Yeah, it's a positive development because this story has been, framed badly since the beginning. And there was a lot of information that wasn't being told, that was being deliberately withheld from the public so that they could keep their preferred narrative.
Right. Okay. All right. So what's this one? This is Pelosi trying to walk back what this video is now?
Well, this was just from the Politico show with the unaired footage. This is also, recent from the other day.
Oh, you said Nicole, somebody from MSNBC. I saw clips from a video where she's.
Oh, yeah.
Provide some lame explanation. This one, yeah.
Right. Yeah. She's had to respond and try to do something, spin somehow, some way. So, of course, you're going to go on Nicole Wallace's show. She's awful.
The fact is that the President of the United States, the former president, and his toadies do not want to face the facts. They're trying to do revisionist history on January 6th.
Revisionist history.
But we cannot let us be dragged into their, again, false impression of what happened that day. They know what happened that day.
We are still gathering information, but we do know that Nancy Pelosi could have had National Guard there, but they didn't want to. It's almost as if, we've been saying this for a long time, they wanted something to happen. They wanted things to get really bad. That way they could absolutely destroy Trump and demonize his supporters. And they've thrown a lot of good people into jail just for walking into a building that they didn't know that they weren't supposed to be in.
100%. Yeah. It's astonishing that we've reached this point. But here we are. Okay. Nancy Pelosi. They are getting terrified, Blake. We covered this on Thursday's show that they were talking about, we're having serious conversations about fleeing the country. And I think it was Bannon came out and he's like, yeah, we got extradition laws everywhere. We're bringing you back. We know what you did. You know what you did. That's why you're talking about leaving. I think they are all terrified of what's about to happen because there is no hiding behind fake stories anymore. We're on to them. We know about the coup. We know what they did. Let me just run back a couple of things, then we'll move on to the next topic about Hunter Biden here. This is from Posobiec saying, on January 5th, General Milley created an order that altered the chain of command for the deployment of the National Guard on January 6th. If you want to check out these stories in further detail, go to our X feed. We are at American_media_. And of course, Blake is at TV's Blake Walley. That's Walley. This one also says General Milley was in direct communication with Susan Rice, Blake, in the lead up to January 6th. That's Obama's national security advisor and the person who unmasked General Flynn. Blake, hearing that, does that surprise you at all, if that's true?
Not at all. No, you're going to throw some extra people in here that were complicit in this operation. Yes, Susan Rice and General Milley would be, perfect candidates.
Liz Churchill says General Mark Milley is guilty of treason. Watch all this. J6 was a military operation against President Trump. They ran 4 simulations on how to stop President Trump by provoking a breakdown on J6 to inaugurate Biden, even if Trump won. Get a load of that. So do a little bit more digging around on these stories on X. But for now, I think we will pause it and switch out to our next topic. Thank you so much for finding us. Make sure you're following Blake in what he does over at thenextlevelnews.com as well. and find the Agree to Disagree show and the New American Media in all of the regular places. All right. We have been waiting to talk about this one. It kind of seems like the top story, but in comparison, we got to talk about Pelosi and J6 first. Now it's time to dig into Hunter's first 3 convictions, because good Lord, there's a lot of trouble for the Bidens up ahead. All right. Blake, agree or disagree that Hunter Biden's conviction should be overturned and he should be pardoned? Agree or disagree? Overturn or pardon Hunter?
That's a tough one. I don't have to disagree. I think he deserves a very, very light punishment for this. I'm not a huge fan of this particular law, even though he done screwed up big time. And he was pretty much a danger, and he should not have probably owned a firearm. There's differences. There's people that, smoke weed or do casual drugs that, I don't care if they own a firearm. I'm more concerned about, violent alcoholics owning firearms. But certainly he was cracked out of his mind, and he must have really had some particular bad days in court when he had, exes show up to try to speak for him. He didn't testify himself, of course, but just to speak to his character, I mean, it's pretty bad that he got convicted. I really didn't think he would get hit hard for this. I almost think it was like if you're filling out a gun form, if you're in denial about your addiction, then maybe, they'd find some sort of loophole for it. But I do believe people, in general, have a right to defend themselves. So I don't know if he's going to get 25 years or not. Certainly, I don't. Father Joe, old Joe, would pardon him if he had the chance, even though he said he's going to let the judicial process run its course, or he respects that rule of law. Certainly, if his son gets a lot of time, he will pardon him for sure. Will it get overturned? I don't know. I just don't see him getting more than, maybe a few months or probation or something like that. Slap on the wrist. Or he's going to go through the appeal process. I don't think they're not going to put him in for 25 years. No way.
Yeah.
So what say you, Brian?
Well, I tagged you on that one video. As I was watching MSNBC, they trotted out. Who wasn't? It wasn't McCabe. It was the other guy.
Is that dude who's got the crush on Judge Merchan? Yes. Has man crush. He likes men. That's just good for him. But, he's one of the MSNBC legal analysts. That's all I know. Yeah.
I think it's so interesting to hear, Biden really respects the rule of law. This is all about respecting the rule. I'm like, This is the beginning of what's about to happen to Joe Biden. They want Biden out of the way. Biden's being too stingy and selfish and stubborn. He has to get out of the way. They're now going after his kid, and they're going after the Biden organization. The amount of smoking guns, the millions of dollars from all these foreign countries, in and out of 20-some different Biden family members. They don't create a product. They don't sell a service. This is all money laundering. I don't care about the Biden gun charges because the Second Amendment says shall not be infringed. If you reach a point where you've engaged in, I think they're I don't like giving any sort of gray area here, but if there's some sort of really violent, really chaotic, if there's some extenuating circumstances, I could understand some people, I mean, the tiniest amount of people, forfeiting their Second Amendment rights. But the way that that's worded and what was filled out, like you said, I mean, this is taking non-criminals and turning them into criminals. And we've just watched what Manhattan district attorneys will do to take misdemeanors and magically remove statute of limitations to combine them together in some way that's never been done and they let all the felons out with even charging them with felonies. They're going to take misdemeanors and turn them into felonies. I don't even know that I trust a court system at this point. But our right to self-defense is a paramount right. It's the number 2 thing that's granted in our Bill of Rights. So I don't really care about this charge on Biden. Am I supposed to be happy? Like, well, they punched Trump, so now this side punched Hunter. It's like, no. You want to go after the underage stuff on Hunter's laptop? Let's get into it. You want to go into like the bribery and blackmail? Let's get into that. You want to talk about how we've been pushed to the verge of nuclear World War III because of what Hunter has been doing in Ukraine? Let's talk about that. Come back at me when we've finally gone after the Bidens for the real money laundering, for the real crimes against humanity. How many hundreds of thousands of people have died in Ukraine because of this Biden stuff? It's beyond reprehensible, Blake. So yeah, I'm not taking a lot of tit for tat. Like, hey, we put a point in our column because look, Hunter's guilty now. It's like, this is not the right stuff. Charge him with the other stuff, the real crime, because this could just be a precedent used to go after other good people for the same thing. And I don't like that at all. This is something that I hope is challenged and I hope it's overturned, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, if I'm looking at this at that period in his life, he probably does not need to own a firearm. He was probably a danger to himself and others. And then
I can't disagree with that narrow. I can't disagree with that. I get that. I definitely empathize with that. Maybe he crossed into that territory. Maybe he actually did.
Right.
But
now, if some kid did he drop the gun? Like, was he left it behind a dumpster or something? I got to dig into that again. I got to figure out that detail. But I mean, if some kid would have found it and shot something, that he probably would have to get prison time. Because that would be, very irresponsible, and certainly he was an irresponsible guy, especially when he was, well known for smoking crack. So, according to text messages that he sent to Hallie Biden, Hunter Biden set up a deal with Mookie. He's got all the good drugs. He's got all the crack, the good crack cocaine.
Do the right thing, Mookie. Do the right thing, Mookie.
Yeah. So one day after he illegally purchased his gun. So I guess Hunter was saying that he has my money, mad, I'm getting pissed. So yeah, do we want an angry crackhead? Do we want to arm him so he can go into a gun battle with Mookie, his drug dealer? I don't know.
And like there's a big difference between being a crackhead, a meth head, and a stoner. Like you said, a raging alcoholic is a much greater threat than. It depends what type of. You and I have both been bartenders. We see the difference. There's an enormous difference in the fact that this is all lumped together in like a generic thing that could be used to go after almost anybody. I don't know. It seems a little wonky to me.
Yeah, it's not entirely fair, but I mean, there's different drugs that have different effects. I certainly wouldn't think the stoners are much to worry about if they have firearms. They tend not to get irrational and violent. Might get a little paranoid, but not like not in the ways crackhead in crack withdrawal would be, or a meth head, or
the meth addicts were the worst. Those were the ones that I had way too many interactions with for a while. Yeah, the meth heads, they're like zombies. They're out to lunch, man. They're a shell roaming like a zombie from like Shaun of the Dead or something. It's really weird.
Yep, so, I've seen them all.
But yeah, I mean, look, if Biden lasts, and some people are projecting, they're kind of saying, look, the only reason Biden's sticking around is because he knows he's going to have to pardon himself when, they're on how many hundreds of millions of dollars through 20-some family members of the Biden crime family. This Hunter gun charge is the least of the problems. How about we deal with the sex trafficking? Can we talk about that? Can we talk about the tens of thousands of little kids who have disappeared at the southern border? All because Biden undid all the stuff that Trump had going. Like this Biden family and trafficking, like this is where my passion would lie in trying to get to the bottom of this and indict them for that.
I would agree.
All right. 25 years, up to 25. Right.
See what happens at sentencing, but I don't see him getting the max penalty and staying there. No way.
All right. Okay. Well, let's stay. Do you have anything else to add on this topic, sir?
No, sir. Let's move.
All right.
Next.
On to the next one.
No nookie for mookie.
All right. So, pivoting off of Biden, we could talk about the future after Biden. We're also going to talk about his geriatric catatonic episode. But I think maybe just start here with Rachel Maddow. I know we were just kind of talking about MSNBC and some of the damage control they've been doing on their deep state outlets, their CIA, lying propagandists selling you BS that doesn't help you, that you don't need, that you didn't ask for. Here's a steaming sack of nonsense. Do you agree or disagree, Blake, that Rachel Maddow and AOC should be thrown in internment camps as we wind down this first and hopefully only Biden term?
Disagree. No, I don't think they should be thrown in internment camps. I know they would throw us in internment camps for, being involved in a, insurrection against democracy, or for any number of other things, or for refusing to take the jab. There's a lot of things that the leftists fantasize about throwing MAGA in prison for. I think MAGA, on the other hand, is up for like Superman, truth, justice, and the American way. So yes, but if these people were breaking the law and they're involved in basically a conspiracy against democracy, and of course framing the sitting president for being some kind of a Russian spy, or committing lawfare, going after him for all kinds of things, and of course throwing innocent J6 people into gulags. Certainly, and of course, a deep state coup, if you will, against our country. Those are treasonous charges. Now, I think it's going to be on a case-by-case basis. Sorry, did something get cut off? But I don't know. I'm not really a big fan of that. But certainly they might have to be they have to be shamed. They'll have to be quarantined. I'm a big fan of just so imprisoning a bunch of people, sort of like in a reality show kind of a way, a twisted Truman Show reality show. Like, some of these people are interesting, and I'd like to talk to them. I'd like to have the documentaries set up. I'd like to get things on the record and get their opinions on why they did what they did. What did they know? When did they know it? So I don't know. I'm not just in favor of just blindly punishing people, but certainly there are different levels and different characters. And Rachel Maddow has done some pretty awful stuff. AOC is really, she's too childishly stupid to really feel like a threat. She was just a useful idiot, a pawn in a much bigger game that is way out of her realm of understanding. So I wouldn't really be a fan of that per se, depending on what they actually did. But both of them today, I did see stories about how they are panicking about things, perhaps retaliation. So AOC, here we go, fearing Trump would throw her in jail if he becomes president. And then we have MSNBC host Rachel Maddow, fearing Trump may put her in an internment camp if he is reelected president in November. Now, certainly, I don't think internment camp would be appropriate, but yes, something should be done, especially if she was, knowingly, pushing propaganda and lies to try to smear innocent people and innocent Americans to further the pinko agenda. So let's see. I refuse to allow. The Daily Mail and Fox News are doing this stupid thing with the ads. They're trying to force me to accept their ads on their site, but I'm not going to play ball with them. But Rachel Maddow says she fears Trump will put her in an internment camp. In an interview with CNN senior reporter Oliver Darcy, he's a scumbag, published in Monday's Reliable Sources newsletter. They still have that with what's that guy's? What's Potato Head? Brian Stelter. Maddow was asked about her
Oh, boy.
concerns about being personally victimized by the Trump administration if he is to be the winner. So, according to Darcy, he said Trump and his allies are openly talking about weaponizing the government to seek revenge against critics in media and politics. So they have weaponized the government against Trump and MAGA and J6 people and everybody else, gun owners, parents at PTA meetings, all kinds of things. Now they're worried that if power shifts, it could be used against them. But they were the ones that set the precedent and started this to begin with. Certainly they wanted to throw us all in internment camps for not taking their stupid jabs, their Moderna and their Pfizer. They would have if they could have gotten away with it. Yeah. So they were saying the extremist allies talking about jailing people, and you're one of those most notable critics on television. This is what he's saying to Maddow. He says, "Are you worried that you could be a target?" To which Rachel replied that she's worried about the country broadly if we put someone in power who is openly avowing that he plans to build camps to hold millions of people and to root out what he's described in subhuman terms as enemy from within. Well, they're just domestic. Yeah, that's been around for quite a while, and we do have appears to be enemies from within that are changing this country dramatically with a radical agenda of their own. I don't know about this building camps. Brian, do you know anything about that, or is he talking about just as a? Is he talking about perhaps? Getting rid of the illegal aliens, deporting them. I don't know if they would be held in camps temporarily. I don't know if these other countries would want to take some of these criminals back.
Yeah, but what's going on is I believe Trump just said over the weekend, or within the past couple days, rather, that there will be tariffs to any country that does not take their people back. Like this is all getting undone. This is all being undone. And if you're not going to play ball, there are going to be severe repercussions. It's. By the way, do you hear what President Trump said as well? He said for tipped employees that he proposes that tips are not taxable now. Did you hear that one?
That would be very interesting. That would be huge because I know as a tipped employee for many, many years in the casinos, things changed dramatically when Obama got into power. And every year the amount of money that they taxed on tips went up significantly to the point where people were actually, keeping their receipts. Some of the waitresses or bartenders, keeping their receipts because they were getting overtaxed on the tips. That was kind of, one of the reasons you want to become a tipped employee, because you don't have to pay as many taxes on cash. That's harder to find, but nowadays most stuff is all done on credit cards, and they really tax you pretty hard. So that would be a game changer. I mean, people should probably pay a certain percentage of tax. Maybe, I'm pretty much anti-IRS to begin with. I think it's unconstitutional to put a tax on people's labor anyway. But that would be cool. I think that would be a big benefit, and that would certainly win over a lot of people, especially in a place like Nevada, a swing state where people are. It's a service economy.
But it's just another reminder.
Yeah,
it is a service economy there, but it's also another reminder that for every day we talk about stupidity, we heard insurrection 1 trillion times for 3 years straight, and there was no such thing by the Trump people. Oh, that was an insurrection. That was a coup from the deep state, from the Democrats. We know that. But every day you don't hear Trump talking about his policy decisions to, you're rounding up the criminal illegal alien invaders and they're going back home. And if they don't, then those countries are going to be slapped with tariffs. There's real policy decisions and policy. I don't know what he's calling it, Agenda 47, I think. And it's like real short bursts of policy reminders and definitions that are really good, Blake. I don't know if you've had a chance to go through some of it, but every day all the media wants to do is keep you distracted on nonsense, and they don't want to discuss the real issues. I mean, the amount of time wasted by Pelosi and the Democrats to just grind out some more political power instead of addressing the real issues of the day. It's maddening. And this isn't about Trump. This isn't about Donald Trump being divisive. This is about the crazy deep state Democrats that must stand down. They have lost their ever-loving minds. They're out of control. They're being relieved of their duties. And the people who are culpable for the coup are going to face the justice system, not the injustice system that Trump has gone through, the actual justice system. And they are all recognizing it right about now. That's why you're seeing the freak out, Blake. The other thing I wanted to pop up here and show you real quick, this is from, and I don't call these far right gains. You call them right. Trying to take common sense ideas and even just adding the word far to the word right is lunacy. Let me just update you on this, because this is something that's going on across the globe. This isn't just in the United States where people have kind of had it. This is from Brussels. They say far right, but I'm going to say right, meaning correct. Right parties rattled the traditional powers. You could call those the oligarch deep staters in the European Union and made major gains in parliamentary elections on Sunday, dealing an especially humiliating defeat to French President Emmanuel Macron. On a night where the 27-member bloc palpably shifted to the right, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni more than doubled her seats in the EU Parliament. And even if the alternative for Germany's extreme right party was hounded by scandal involving candidates, it still rallied enough seats to sweep past the slumping Social Democrats of Chancellor Olaf Scholz. So you got Germany, Blake, going back to common sense. You have France flipping upside down. And this is kind of what you're seeing, the harbinger of what's about to happen here in the United States. It's the biggest, easiest to identify tidal wave imaginable. People are sick of what these globalist deep state hacks are doing to destroy the economy, run up rampant inflation, drop millions of people who don't speak the language, don't have resources, weren't asked to be there, but now they're living in the streets, they're living in hotels, they're living in tents, they're living in airports and police stations, trying to figure out, why is my country being invaded? Who's behind this? Well, the people behind it in France and Germany just got fired, and it's about to happen here in the United States, Blake. Do you feel like there's a global wave against this, that the people have finally woken up and said, I've had it with this stuff?
Yeah, it's been a process. Yeah, the populism is making inroads, and they're rejecting globalism. They're seeing what it does. Now, the big problem we have in this country, of course, is the mail-in balloting and the lack of oversight and the lack of election integrity. So that's my only real fear. Until if they can't straighten that out by the time November hits, then my hope might be lost. Or we're getting a national divorce. I don't know. But it's refreshing to see. Yes, and you're correct that the way that they are framing that is illegitimate. The left has gone completely off the rails to the extremes. And now they just view like regular common sense conservatives as somehow being far right, when a lot of it is just, populism and common sense.
Yeah, and I'm not going to use their words. Just like Jordan Peterson, I will not use the words that you mandate I use. I'm just not doing it. I'm not going to read it just because you wrote that tripe. But this is the kind of showing it here. European Union voters are choosing a new European Parliament. Nationalist, anti-immigrant sentiment is rising across the continent, but each of the 27 countries has its own domestic issues. Yeah, you know what? They're in charge of their own sovereignty, and they don't want a blended society. Everybody's allowed to have what they are and keep it that way. It's a gift to go join another nation. And you know what? You should go in learning the language. You should have a criminal background check. You should make sure, the country that's going to fire you from the military, the United States, if you don't take that jab, well, they're just going to let millions and millions, tens of millions storm across the border with God knows what ties to God knows what gangs and his criminal histories of God knows what, without a health check during a coronavirus outbreak. You got to be out of your mind. So the European Union countries saying this is anti-immigrant, I mean, it's pro, I guess, what would you call that? Nationalist? Like you love your nation? You're not about blending the world. And this stuff has been so, I guess gaslit is maybe the best way to describe it, Blake. Just common sense policy decisions. People call it racist. They call it xenophobic. They're going to use every slur and slander possible. You're far right. No. I'm common sense. Like, if we want the best of the best to come here, like we're hiring the best of the best. We can bring, maybe whatever. But like what the Obama deep state puppeteers, what these people are doing in an organized manner across the globe, it is getting rejected in Europe, and it's going to be rejected in one of the biggest blowouts in American political history, is my projection, here in the United States when Donald Trump takes his second turn. And I don't know if that's going to be against Joe Biden, and I don't know if that's going to be against Kamala Harris or somebody else, but it certainly seems like, oh, by the way, here, let me just read one last sentence here before we get to the next topic. Or three sentences. Overall, across the European Union, two mainstream and pro-European groups, the Christian Democrats and the Socialists, remain the dominant forces. The gains of the far right came at the expense of the Greens, who were expected to lose about 20 seats and fall into sixth position, blah, blah, blah. For decades, the European Union, which has its roots in the defeat of Nazi Germany and fascist Italy, confined the hard right to the political fringes. Like they are saying, if you like your country and you don't want a million unvetted people being dumped on your streets, now you're reminiscent of Nazi Germany. Now you're reminiscent of fascist Italy. It's like, it's just so absurd. I get so tired of consider these viewpoints and these slanders, these slurs, and this disinformation and everything that they do to marginalize common sense. I just can't, Blake.
Oh yeah, it's desperate and it's dangerous. Yeah, to demonize people like that. Certainly, things have changed dramatically, and they're just being hyperbolic, and they're all just controlled corporate hacks. But good thing that people are seeing through it. You had the Brexit, and you're going to see more of that as countries embrace their sovereignty and reject the globalist policies.
All right. Do we have anything else on Rachel Maddow, AOC, and internment camps, etc.?
Well, how about that, Brian? How about you quickly get your quick take on that? Do you think that Rachel and AOC deserve jail or internment camps?
Rachel Maddow, 100%, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think she's at. I'm pretty sure the Nuremberg Code said I wasn't just doing my job. You were an active participant in criminal activity. Now, I know the Smith-Mundt Act was repealed. That was under Obama, which turned our American news sources into straight-up propagandist outlets. I get that. But just because Smith-Mundt was repealed and you could, I don't think that was a good idea, and I don't think that you should have. So I think there should be legitimate penalties to staging a coup to overthrow the duly elected president of the United States. AOC's biggest penalty, what would, I mean, she was definitely
being a useful idiot. Yeah.
She was egging on the rioters all across the summer of love in 2020. And I think she was fundraising to get rioters who were attempting to overthrow the country for their Marxist regime. I think she was trying to get co-conspirators out of jail, which, if my recollection serves me right, she directly fundraised and gave speeches to pay money to get the criminals that they were employing through their non-governmental organizations, the Soros dark money. So yeah, if my recollection's correct on that, absolutely. I want to see all of these people go down for treason, not because it's tit for tat, not because it's vengeance. It's because there need to be penalties for what happened to President Trump in 2020. It was a clear overthrow. What evidence is there? There's no specific evidence. And by the way, go to CISA.gov/rumor control, because they'll tell you that 2020 was the only election in history that had no funny business, had no cheating. And it was so perfect, you can't even mention how unperfect it might have been. So go to CISA.gov/rumor control.
Way more secure.
Yep. Under duress, I read you that, and that's why we keep that ticker at the bottom of the screen. But everyone knows what happened. Just look at it right now. Look at the unpopularity of this guy, who has always only been unpopular, and look at the amount of overswell for President Trump to get this 4-year term again after this 4-year nightmare. So, yeah,
Biden
Jane,
won every state in 2020 by mail-in balloting, not by in-person.
Yeah. Make that make sense.
Yeah.
Give me a break. Vote in person. Vote on paper, save the votes, keep it all on camera.
Show an ID, show a signature. Right.
Yeah. And arrest and have officers there to arrest people who are attempting to use fake IDs or who don't check out. Like, everyone should be fingerprinted. That's questionable. That's what I say. So yes, it is nauseating, Jen. All right. Anything else to add on Rachel Maddow?
No, let's hit the next topic.
Perfect. This is the one that we had our thumbnail about. This is about Joe Biden, because this is really where we're at, people. This is the reality they expect you to believe is accurate. All right, let me take this off the screen here. Blake, agree or disagree that Joe Biden's latest catatonic episode proves that he's unfit for office? What say you?
Yeah, it's just another reason why he should be taken off the table. Although maybe he would be a weaker opponent for Trump, in theory. So maybe you want to keep him there. I could imagine going through another 4 years. I don't know how we could possibly make it another 4 years. He's just really struggling just to get it over the finish line just for the first term here. So we have another latest episode that people are talking about, chattering about on Twitter, tweeting about. We're calling it, I don't know, posting. Anyway, it's another social media craze. So here we go. Biden sipping Gatorade. He's trying to stay awake at this latest Juneteenth amendment. I don't think that's just pure Gatorade. I got to stick some methamphetamines in there. I'm sure there's something more to it. Joe Biden's cognitive decline was on full display again Monday night at they had a White House Juneteenth event where he could barely stay awake and looked perpetually confused. So Biden, of course, signed into law in 2021 that Juneteenth would be a federal holiday. So it's no surprise his handlers forced him along to this event where he really should have just been in bed sleeping. So let's roll up that high energy man. What are all these people doing here? I want to go back to bed.
They're spotting Kamala out. They might.
Anyway, that's one. Let's stop that one. Biden has no idea where he is right now. He's in the crowd here.
Oh, you'll have to mute that so we don't get the.
Oh yeah, we don't want to get the. Okay, well, no worries. We'll mute this.
But let's just imagine some nice music in the background. Yeah. Let's just imagine some cool music bobbing my head to this. Yeah. It's so awesome. Joe Biden's cognizant and he's with it. Yeah. Kamala sitting by his right shoulder, leaning on each other. Yeah.
Yep, it's so bad. He's just blankly staring out into space. Here's another clip. Oh, we'll trim this down.
There we go.
What is he doing? Everybody's moving around.
And we'll clap. Everybody's moving but Joe. He can't do that. Yeah, the Joe Biden bot. The Joe bot. We're not going to call him a robot. He's a Joe bot. He's just standing there like C-3PO and everybody else is at the cantina having a good time.
Yeah, you would think this would be like something you'd see from Jimmy Carter, like, oh, we brought former president Jimmy Carter to enjoy the Juneteenth event. And you don't expect anything from him because he's a former president, 40 years ago, 45 years ago. But this is what Biden appears to be. But he's actually the current sitting president. It doesn't make sense. And he has no idea. He's like a catatonic, just staring into space and has no idea where he's at, what's going on, blankly, while everyone else is moving around him. And he is just there. So I guess, yeah, they had to, Joe, drink your Gatorade, drink your meth.
Okay. Let me do something I almost never do. I can't believe I'm ready to do this. I'm going to defend Joe Biden.
Okay.
Lord help me on this one. I'm going to defend Joe Biden. Let me just say this. I am a drummer by trade. I love to drum. I love to tap my feet. I love to, you play drums on anything, like in the car. Like I'm always moving. I have rhythm. I can play almost any song that I hear. I'm not the best drummer in the world, so I can't play everything, but most songs that are easily or fairly easily drummable, I got it. I'm not much of a dancer. That might be how I look, all uncomfortable while people dance around me. It takes a special night, a special set of circumstances for me to feel like being in a group of people with music and moving my shoulders or my arms, my forearms, kind of getting into some twisting. And dancing is something that I don't do. It's just not something I regularly fall back upon. So maybe that's how I look when I'm out in public and there's music and people are trying to dance. And I'm like, I'm just C-3PO. It looks like you got a broomstick holding up the scarecrow or something. I'm just, okay. Are you done yet? Okay, I'm going to smile till the song's over because I don't like dancing all that much. And I have rhythm and I like songs and I like the beat. I just don't dance much. So maybe it's just Biden isn't much of a dancer like Barack Hussein Obama's spouse, who likes to dance on the Ellen show, right? Barack's spouse.
Michelle Obama with their penis flopping around. Well, maybe something flopping around. We don't actually know.
Some people say
that. She's a lovely person.
Some people say that, and that's just on the absurd side of things. I mean, there's no proven evidence of that. Look, let's prove it. Let's just talk to the Obama chef who's seen it all and heard it all, and let's see.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Where's the Obama chef, Blake? Where do I find that person who prepared all the meals for the last 6 years and heard all the interpersonal communications between them?
Exactly. And I know who else would give it to us straight. Joan Rivers. She wouldn't hold back. She'd tell us for real what she
Perfect. Can you try, Blake? Can you shoot out a message try to book her for the Thursday show?
Absolutely.
Well, look, if those two are booked, maybe get Seth Rich. I don't know. Maybe he'll have some information to
perhaps he was a high-level staffer. He would know something. You would think he's got to hear something.
You would think so. Yeah, Biden being catatonic. He's out to lunch, folks. He's completely out to lunch. Do you know where we're at with the Her report? That they're hiding the audio file and they're trying not to give it any progress on that in the last couple of days? I didn't see anything.
I'm sure they're doing everything they can to make sure that doesn't come out. Because that's not going to go well for them. As they're trying to say he's too elderly, too frail. They can't charge him as a criminal because he's an old man, doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just doddering on and on about classified things. And even though he's still technically the sitting president, but yes, he does look like a catatonic, and that is worrisome. I don't think he's fit for office, and of course. Seemed like he did, poop his pants in France over D-Day. So it's clearly all unraveling. So Brian, I don't dance with either, but I don't think I stand with it like that stiffly. Maybe
I mean, Blake, there's standing around being a white guy who doesn't dance, like at a mostly black event. I mean, I lived in a part of Los Angeles where I did not look like many people around me. I've been in a lot of rooms where a lot of people are dancing, and I probably look a certain way of uncomfortable, but this is really a stiff C-3PO Star Wars character, like a 3.5-inch figurine that you set on the table, and it just stands there stiff, while the rest are kind of like one of those what was that football game? You'd turn on the thing and it would vibrate to find a winner.
Yeah, I remember that's old. Yeah, it was old school electric football game. Yeah,
Yeah, like electric football. So the whole crowd is electric football. They're all dancing, but he's just kind of glued to the table, standing in the same spot. It is strange.
Right.
Yeah, running in circles like Three Stooges. Yeah, Kenneth B says, "Oh, bless his evil heart, bless his evil heart." That's a good way to say it, because that is what Her was saying. That, well, he's a kindly old daughter. He's just an old gentleman who's just a little, his wits aren't as sharp. It's like, no, it's way different than that. There's much more to it. Kenneth B says, do the awkward. Da da da. Do the awkward. Da 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 da. Oh yeah, here's how you do the. Okay, I got a lot of thoughts here. When Joe Biden was in France, and some people say it looked like he defecated his pants. Did you see the dance craze? It was on our X feed. If you go back to American_media_, scroll back a day or two.
Oh, I've got this one. This is a good one. So Brian, if this lovely gentleman asked you to dance, would you?
Okay, wait, hold on. This is a different one. Right. Let me just.
Okay.
I don't know where this is going, but good Lord. Oh my gosh. Full screen this. But no, the one I was saying is that all these girls were doing the Biden, and to do the Biden is to squat and kind of look like you're dumping in your diaper. So it's become a dance craze where you do the Biden and you do the jump cuts, the super cuts. It's actually pretty funny, whether it happened or not, and whether it was selectively edited or not. Who cares? It's funny at this point. But what is this you're showing me? What is this? Wall Street Silver. What are you doing, Wall Street?
Well, no, that's one of the guys that's you can see him. He's in the frame here.
Oh, I can't. Okay, yeah.
We got to turn the music up, but yeah, he's right here on the left. It's the same dude. The Juneteenth, yeah. Whoever that guy is, or gal, or whatever, I don't care. It's certainly a lively person.
No
but
comment.
Here we go. We got they did it with a David Attenborough voiceover.
And by the way, that seemed a little bit like a Tim Meadows sketch, like to just glance at it, like something out of Saturday Night Live. Anyway.
Oh yeah, or perhaps yeah. Let's see.
David Attenborough.
You know David Attenborough, don't you?
Let's see where this is going.
You know who David Attenborough is, right?
Yeah, he does like the nature stuff.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. Here we go. It's like
how bad is this joke gonna be, Blake?
I don't know. I forgot. I only watched it once, but I have a high level of, my humors can be a little bit. I can tolerate a little more crudeness than the average person, but here we go.
Here in the swamps of Washington, D.C., Beyoncé has decided to throw a Juneteenth party on the White House lawn, and she busted her senile great-uncle out of the old folks' home for the evening. In a perplexing turn of events, Steve Urkel has crashed the party in an attempt to give President Potato Head some racial street cred. Let's observe from a safe distance as Uncle Chester desperately tries to perform a little cultural appropriation. But alas, this hair-sniffing creeper simply cannot keep up with Lizzo and George Jefferson's moves.
Such a creeper.
As the party rages on, Robert De Niro appears on the scene to dance awkwardly beside the White House diversity hire. Careful observation will reveal the sheer genius of America's second-in-command. If you stare long enough, you can see all 67 IQ points written on Kamala's face. As we observe this bizarre scene, one cannot help but wonder, how did we get here? Is this some kind of twisted prank, or are these really the leaders of the free world?
Brian, is this?
But at least Joe didn't have any accidents today.
Hey, he didn't have any accent. Well, we don't know if he had any accents. He might have, he might be. Maybe that's what he's doing, is in deep concentration because he's, trying to,
releasing a log
without letting everybody know around him. Yes, just having
like if you're trying to release a Silent but Deadly in like homeroom.
Yeah,
you don't want to make it. I like how he's like shaking hands with nobody in particular. Like that hand's been in like Bob Dole position that whole video. Did you notice that?
Yeah, he's catatonic, dude. That's what I say. He's the catatonic commander-in-chief.
Robot the Joebot. Joebot the robot. All right. Well, look, let's get them for the corruption. Let's definitely get them with the corruption. I think that's where I want to make sure we spend our focus. Okay, anything else on Joe Biden being catatonic, Blake?
Well, I guess just quickly, yes. Yeah, the D-Day. The media is pretty much freaking out after the Biden's frail D-Day appearance, raising new cognitive concerns. And then there was another one, Democrats rushing to defend Biden as president displays cognitive decline in France. And that's not even talking about the Juneteenth part. So D-Day to Juneteenth, it's been a very bad weekend. So,
and with the son being found guilty.
It's been a very, very bad week.
Tens of millions, hundreds of millions going to 20 different Biden family members. Like, it really seems like they're taking out. This is a mafia hit. Like, they're taking these people out. And like I said, my concern is that Biden's going to become too much of a liability. And I think their Democrat deep state could frame MAGA and try to take him out to martyr him and blame it on MAGA to try to lock the country down prior to an election. So I'll pray for the health and safety of Joe Biden to make it long enough to be charged and found guilty of treason.
Okay.
That's my prayer for Joe Biden, that he remains healthy enough to face charges of treason and a conviction of treason and the penalty for treason. Rick Norman is saying, hello, guys. Thank you very much for finding us. Make sure you find Blake. He's on X at TV's Blake Walley and The Next Level News. Of course, this is the Agree to Disagree show. Make sure you're on Spotify following our podcast, The Agree to Disagree show. And make sure you're following us on Rumble, Truth Social, Facebook, Instagram, all of the places, including Patreon. Patreon.com/The New American Media, or through Venmo at Brian Engelman. Blake, what is yours? What are your $ Blake W? Your Cash App. Okay, so it's $ Blake W 99. Let's put this on screen. So if you want to support the New American Media.
Oh yeah. I actually got $1 from Alex Stein 99 to Blake W 99.
All right. Weekend. Well, let's not discuss that at the moment.
All right.
It's a whole scenario here. I don't know what's going on. I'm clicking save. I'm just trying to show this. There we go. There you go. TV's Blake Walley on the screen. Make sure you're following him on X and Cash App $ Blake W 99. That's how you can support independent journalism, folks. But yeah, you're right, Blake, to connect the dots on what's been going on, as the president's in France. I don't even want to call him the president. Former Vice President Joe Biden. The resident of the White House, as he's in France. And then this Juneteenth thing, it is all sorts of bad. And this is exactly what you should expect. And this is exactly why you must retire every Democrat and never allow them to come anywhere near the wheels of power ever again. And you must indict the people that overthrew the country 3.5 years ago. Because we hardly resemble the same nation because of the stuff they've been allowed to get away with temporarily. It's time to sweep it up and clean it up. So that's what I'm looking forward to. But, of course, there are other problems on the horizon. We got 2 more stories, and I think we'll wrap today's program up. And we will go to it right about now. All right, Blake, agree or disagree that a problem bank's looming insolvency will cause economic crisis? Agree or disagree?
Yes, I would absolutely agree. It is really getting ugly. Let's check out. We got some major economic turmoil, it appears, around the corner, as 63 U.S. Problem banks, quotes, are nearly insolvent, but you can't know which ones. So, the FDIC, they recently released their quarterly report with some disturbing news. They have a list of problem banks that are near solvency. And they're in trouble because they have unrealized losses on securities. They ballooned from $39 billion they had on the books to now over $517 billion. That's in 1 quarter, as in 3 months, not a decade, 3 months. So it's an absolutely shocking increase. Residential mortgage-backed securities are the brunt of the problem. Talking about the subprime mortgage of 2008, everything went to heck. And there's $1 trillion in mortgage-backed securities that caused a bubble to burst. But we just went from sort of okay to $500 billion in 3 months. This is a really big deal, and we don't even know which banks. It could be the big banks, small ones, my bank, your bank. We don't know. But the FDIC, we think like, oh, the FDIC is insured. They only have the funds to replace about 1.17% of the qualified deposits in America.
Oh.
So if you're thinking, if your bank goes, you want your bank to go first because then you could get the FDIC money. But if it's later down the road, then you probably won't get your money out. So all I can say is it might be a good time to look at gold, silver, and Bitcoin because things are about to get bumpy. Not only that, but we have a big problem with the petrodollar. It no longer exists. This is the thing that has propped up our economy for like the last 50 years. Is basically forcing the entire world to use U.S. dollars to buy petroleum from Saudi Arabia. But now they'll take the yuan, they'll take the ruble, they'll take euros, yen, Bitcoin. They'll take whatever they want. They're not going to force anybody to use dollars. So people are dumping our bonds. We have a potential massive crisis. We can't afford to keep the empire rolling without the petrodollar and that power. So, yeah, it's not looking good. It's a good time to end the Fed, but there is certainly going to be a lot of pain. So people need to be aware of that and plan accordingly if you can. Good time to get whatever assets you can because the dollar might be not worth as much. It could be really collapse pretty hard. And you got the rise of the BRICS nations too. So you're going to have a rival and they're going to have, real, asset backed currencies, not just, fiat. It means nothing, backed by nothing, not even gold.
And, this is all a function of the deep state getting out over its skis and messing in too many other countries' affairs. This has happened too often. They've been bullied by the deep state, who's manipulating the currency. There's never a call to come to Jesus moment, so they just keep monetizing, digitizing trillions to spend on the military-industrial complex to go to war and overthrow anybody who doesn't want to go along with the petrodollar crap. Enough with the freaking scams. Enough with it. They say all the time, they talk about what's going on in California, for example. Gavin Newsom pushes for $20 an hour minimum wage, and now there's lists of all the fast food restaurants that have closed down. They've talked about turning so much of the workforce robotic because the pay is too much now. They talk about what unions do. Yes, unions used to be really great. Yes, the concept of unions to prevent people being abused, that's noble. But the push, the nonstop progressive push, the whole word progressive is a march toward progress. There never is satiated. There never is okay. It's just a staging ground to go to the next step. And the unions have pushed so hard, so fast that they've bankrupted so many companies. They killed the goose that laid the golden egg. They killed the goose that laid the golden egg. And that is exactly what it looks like the deep state has done here, meddling in too many other countries' foreign affairs all the damn time. And everyone around just kind of goes, hey, you understand what the U.S. is doing, right? They're overthrowing regimes. Look what they did to Gaddafi. Look what they did to Saddam. Look what they did. Go down the laundry list. It's not about one or two or three places. It's just look what they do. And then they hold it over your head and then they damage your country with sanctions. Let's just back away from it. It's because they pushed too hard, too fast. And it's very similar, Blake, to how they pushed too hard, too fast with Trump to just boogeyman the guy and to publicly lynch him and try to kidnap him and throw him in jail, where they're trying to then remove Secret Service to Epstein the guy. They pushed too hard, too fast. And it's all blown up in their faces. And these people don't represent us. They currently have the levers of power, but we're trying to grab that wheel and stop us from going right into the side of the mountain range, Blake.
Yeah, so it lasted a very, very long time. They were able to squeeze this as far as they could, but they can't do it forever. And I never thought we'd see the end of the petrodollar like that, but it's happening, and BRICS is rising. And yes, we have every reason to think that the empire is in trouble.
Well, let's see.
They did it to themselves.
Let's see what smoldering ashes are left to hand over to President Trump in January. Okay.
Well, it's a good time to get rid of the Fed and start everything over. This could be changed very quickly with the right people in place, and get rid of the Federal Reserve. Start the whole system, a real sound economic money system. We could have our own asset bet, and we can be focused on ourselves instead of trying to police the world with a million military bases and what have you, and meddling and giving everybody money. All they've been doing is taking all our taxpayer dollars and giving it away anyway. So
once again, it's what President Trump said in his Agenda 47 is that there's no more free money for countries. If they get money, it's a loan and they will pay us back. I'm sorry. Why was this not the thing from day one? Who in the world is just giving away? These people do not represent us. They don't make sense. They don't make good decisions. They're drunk and they need to be relieved of their duty. So let's just kind of move in that direction. Heard Saudi is no longer taking the petrodollar. Yeah, it's going to be a mess. It is a mess. Okay, final topic here. Let's go to it. I like that music. So I was trying to do the anti-Joe Biden dance. I was starting to move my shoulders a little bit, do a little twisting. Okay, Blake, agree or disagree that every member of Congress should have an AIPAC babysitter? Agree or disagree? Every member of Congress must have a AIPAC babysitter.
Strongly disagree. And this was quite a revelation that we heard from your representative, Thomas Massie, on Tucker Carlson, one of the only real principled guys. It seems like we have a big problem. Speaking of supporting other countries, we should take a quick look at this clip, which is really disturbing. And by the
way, I saw this, Blake, as I was I kind of started watching Massie, and then something else came up from Massie. There was like a 35-minute documentary about him on his farm. I don't know. Have you ever seen that thing?
I have not, but
it's a good watch. It's a good watch.
One of these days, I'll get caught up on stuff. It was like right next to each other, the Tucker interview, and then it was this one, and I think I tweeted them out back to back over the weekend. But yeah, as far as rebuilding our currency, how about we get Ron Paul and Thomas Massie and 3 other really smart people and just kind of set it up already. Like let's get on track. So yeah, and then get rid of all the AIPAC babysitters that are influencing our Congress people. According to Thomas Massie, every GOP member of Congress has an AIPAC babysitter. What is that? Well, why don't we just let him explain?
They're not registered.
Is there any other Republican who has your views on this?
Well, I have Republicans who come to me on the floor and say, I wish I could vote with you today. Yours is the right vote, but I would just take too much flack back home. And I have Republicans who come to me and say, that's wrong what AIPAC is doing to you. Let me talk to my AIPAC person. By the way, everybody but me has an AIPAC person.
What does that mean, an AIPAC person?
It's like your babysitter, your AIPAC babysitter, who is always talking to you for AIPAC. They're probably a constituent in your district, but they are, firmly embedded in AIPAC. And
every member has something like this?
I don't know how it works on the Democrat side, but that's how it works on the Republican side. And when they come to DC, you go have lunch with them, and they've got your cell number, and you have conversations with them. So I've had
that's absolutely crazy.
I've had 4 members of Congress say, I'll talk to my AIPAC person. And it's literally what we call them, my AIPAC guy. I'll talk to my AIPAC guy and see if I can get him to, dial those ads back.
Why have I never heard this before?
it doesn't benefit anybody. Why would they want to tell their constituents that they've basically got a buddy system with somebody who's representing a foreign country?
So your representative doesn't listen to the constituents that it should. They're listening to their AIPAC guy who's representing a foreign country. You know, JFK wanted to force AIPAC to register as a foreign lobby and was unsuccessful. Not going to go further into speculation, but certainly alarming. And it's sad to see that there's a little too much influence going on. Influence peddling, too many lobbyists corrupting our representatives, and they're not representing our interests as they should. We don't know it. They're out for themselves, and they've sold this country out big time. And it's good to see some principled people. Yeah, we've had Ron Paul, and now we got Thomas Massey. So we do have a few good ones. So it's nice to see, and it's nice to put some light on this because people need to know how are people making decisions for us. So Brian, I think we're about that 1:30 mark right now. So I don't have too much else to add. I think we got the point there. But yeah, certainly this was a huge interview, as you said, Brian. I know I think it was like 2 hours long, and I didn't get into very much of that, but he does talk about living off the grid at the end. So that's probably those last 30 or 40 minutes.
No. It's a full separate documentary. If you scroll back on American_media_ over the weekend, when I shared out the Tucker interview, it's like right before it, right after it. It's worth the watch. It's really neat. It reminds me of being out in Taos, New Mexico, building earthships, off the grid, self-sustainable homes. But yeah, I mean, look, it's something that Americans need to think about. Is Israel the 51st state of the United States, or is it a foreign country with undue influence? Like we kind of have to pick a lane here. And Thomas Massey, he also talked about how he was asked to kind of participate in this and that, and when he didn't show a particular interest, that's when they started spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on his opponent. It's like, oh, you're not going to play game, and you're not going to play ball with us. All right, well, we're going to try to get you thrown out of here. And it's like that seems like a little undue, a little too much influence over the United States elections from a foreign entity. It is very interesting. I had one more thing connected to Israel here. I wanted to touch on and maybe buzz past you, Blake. I'm not sure if you were aware of this, but this one is agree or disagree that it's okay for journalists to be secret terrorists. And I'll take the lead on this one. But this happened recently. What's been reported about this person, Al Jazeera photographer and his doctor father, rumored to have held this Noah Argamani captive in her house. Then they're being called innocent bystanders by the legacy media. And this person tweeting that I think Al Jazeera owes us some explanations here. Blake, are you aware of this story in any way?
No.
Okay, it's very interesting. They're saying it's being reported that the 26-year-old Noah Argamani, who was kept hostage, she was kept hostage in the home of an Al Jazeera air quote journalist named Abdallah Al-Jamal and his wife and his doctor father. And they were paid to keep this woman captive for 8 months. And of course, the home was located in the Nuseirat refugee camp. Let me scroll back here. So this one says, was a journalist working for the U.S.-based 501c3 organization, the Palestine Chronicle, helping hold Israelis hostage in Gaza. In an initial testimony documenting the killings committed by the Israeli army in the Nuseirat camp today, the Euromed HR reported that the Israeli army used a ladder to enter the home of Dr. Ahmed al-Jamal. The army immediately executed the 36-year-old Fatima al-Jamal upon encountering her on the staircase. The forces then stormed the house and executed her husband, journalist Abdullah al-Jamal, and his father, Dr. Ahmed, 74, in front of his grandchildren. And that this journalist, Blake, was posing as a neutral party, but he was in fact an active participant in the war. This post says, an innocent civilian who was kidnapped being held in the home of an Al Jazeera journalist. That's as surprising as the dozens of UNRWA employees participating in the original 10/7 Hamas terrorist attack. Who would have thought? And of course, you've probably seen the video of this person being taken all those months ago over and over again. And just now this person was released, Blake. It seems like the hostages being held could theoretically be daily news ticker items, and it's just kind of being ignored, or it's just being reported like, oh, the poor people who are caught in the crossfire of this. And it's like, yeah, they're active participants in the war who are kidnapping and holding people hostage. So very interesting story. Not sure if you have any thoughts after seeing some of these postings, Blake.
Well, I'm pretty sure a lot of these journalists from these other countries, especially in some of these like the war zones or what have you, are not really classically trained journalists. They're actually, military operatives. And I think a lot of them are, in the American military are CIA operatives. And they've, it's been an infiltration of these groups. So, and we met a nice lady from Germany. She was a soldier before she was a journalist. So they want these people to be right. They want these people to be trained, and then here's a camera, and now we're going to teach you how to do videography. But yeah, it's a much different world. I mean, I'm not a classically trained journalist. I never wanted to get involved in journalism. Hell no. But I've had, I guess, a skill set to do it, and was able to force myself into it. But versus someone that went to went to Columbia University or something, or just somebody that was a military person, an intelligence op, who became a journalist, but they are completely compromised on everything that they report, whereas I have the freedom to call it like I see it. So yeah, it's a very different industry than it used to be. So yeah, none of this, I guess, surprises me. So you just don't know who is who and who's real and who's not.
And I think that's a good opportunity for us to just be aware of what propaganda is being pushed by both sides during any war. It's hard to, how can you believe anything out of Ukraine? How can you believe anything out of Gaza? How can you believe anything coming out of what's the next one going to be? Hong Kong or Taiwan? It's nonstop propaganda. And to just see that they're hiding behind human shields and they're violating the Geneva Convention as much themselves, but they're always reporting one side against the other. It's like it's all sorts of chaos. It's all sorts of noise, and we're just really trying to unpack it. But yeah, it's time to get all these hostages back. This has gone on way too long. What they say, 8 months or 10 months? Whatever it said, almost a year.
10-7, yeah.
Rick Norman was saying in the early 90s, CNN employed many terrorists. Oh, why isn't it coming up on screen here? And several female reporters were openly dating known and wanted terrorists. Yeah, that's nuts.
It's been a Russian trick for a long time. Germans certainly did it. I'm sure every country in the world probably does this. So they have to have the journalists on their side. They have to keep them controlled. They don't want anything leaking. They have to make sure the information is filtered.
Is this where we can talk about Project Mockingbird or Operation it's Operation Mockingbird and maybe the Vanderbilt family, and we can talk about the CNN host, the one that looks like a vampire from one of those?
Well, yeah, I'm sure. Anderson Cooper or Wolf Blitzer has always been known as kind of like maybe an Israeli operative too. I don't know. But I've mentioned Nicole Wallace. She's definitely an intelligence asset. I think so many of these people, they are absolutely compromised. It's not people just curating their own news and doing old school muckraking, old school journalism anymore. It's a very different industry now. It's very corporately controlled. And some of these people are trained, or they might be military ops. So
yeah, good stuff. Okay, Jane, thank you. She says you guys have a good show here. I really enjoy you too. Well, we enjoy you too, Jane. Thank you so much. Jane. Rick Norman is asking, Blake, you going on with Mike tonight?
Absolutely. So, yes, in about 4 hours, I suppose, we're going to be doing the Toxically Masculine Tuesday. That will be on, with Mike Barra and Dr. Brooks Agnew. We will certainly be talking about the Alien Festival that we just attended. So that'll be good. So, yeah, please tune in for that in a few hours from now. Yes, thank you, everybody.
Blake, if it comes up, if you talk about aliens, Blake, and if you're able to remember my question, since Kenneth is asking that he heard Brian holds a cat against its will. By the way, that's correction, 2 cats against their will. No, I think they love me and I love them too. But I'm curious as to Mike's take and Brooks's take. If cats are aliens because they're so depicted on the hieroglyphs in Egypt, very curious if cats are alien.
That's a good question. I don't know. Mike is a big animal lover, and you think he's probably got like 3 cats. He's probably had more cats than you, Brian. You're an amateur compared to Mike Barra, right?
Oh, okay.
You had 4. You had 4 for a long. We won't get into that. A couple of.
I had more than 4. I think at one point I had 9, with 3 of them being outdoor, indoor. So like 6 indoor. Oh. I was fostering. I was finding all the cats outside in the neighborhood, and then found permanent homes for the ones that were adoptable. But yeah, for a while there, it was a lot. By the way, Jane is chiming in. She says, "LOL, of course cats are aliens." And she has 5 of them. Okay, so you got 5 aliens. Cinco alienos. Yeah. Bueno. All right, cool. Well, then let's pause it for here. I'll let you go, Blake. Tell people where to find you on your way out. But I'll tell people if they're on Cash App, you can go ahead and support Blake with his
pressure, but sure. Thank you. But it's all good. We'll continue to keep growing and spread the word. That would be more. Yeah, that would be the best thing. But thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure. You can find me on TV's Blake Walley on Twitter, and the archive is also on thenextlevelnews.com.
Perfect.
So thank you, everybody.
Blake,
thank you, Brian. I got to run.
Enjoy. Have a great show tonight.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
There he goes, everybody. Blake the eccentric Walley. Oh, I haven't called him Blake the eccentric in a while. That just slipped out. That was his previous moniker. But yes, there you can help Blake. He's on Cash App at $Blake W99. So this is where I would ask you guys to follow us in all the places. Rumble, we are growing. YouTube, we are being stymied. YouTube does this thing where you try to find a story, and they won't show you the stories being covered by the people you're subscribed to. They show you the story you're looking for that NBC is giving you their version. CNN, they want you to get the fake version. I don't want that. I don't like YouTube anymore. We're actually growing on Rumble. We're making money on Rumble. Our reach is larger on Rumble than it is on YouTube for some reason. We have 6,400 people following us on YouTube, but they hide our view count. They don't show people when our shows go out. Rumble, we have 60 followers, but it goes out and we get more watch time from that. So connect with us on Rumble. If you're not on Rumble, I encourage you to get an account. I'm not a shareholder in the company. I don't have any vested interest other than I appreciate having a rival platform. Also, Odyssey, ODYSEE, that backs up everything that we put on the New American Media page on YouTube. So follow us on YouTube, Odyssey, Rumble. On Spotify, our podcast is the Agree to Disagree Show. Please click subscribe. On Truth Social, that's our backup, kind of for X, kind of for Facebook. It's the New American Media. On X, we're at American_Media_. On Facebook, the New American Media is the page. And if you search TNAM, you can find a whole bunch of groups. TNAM Humor, TNAM Food and Drink, TNAM Preparedness, TNAM's The Agree to Disagree Show. And of course, TNAM is the New American Media. That's what that stands for. And Instagram, the New American Media. Follow us in all those places. And of course, if you ever want to send something over on Venmo, that's at Brian Engelman, and on Patreon, patreon.com/the New American Media. So yeah, thank you for the kind words. Glad you jumped into the program. We try to give you as much of the world's information twice a week. We do Tuesday and Thursday shows at 3:00. I feel like it's usually a pretty good amount. You can do shows every day and you kind of run out of things to talk about. And it's like, sometimes I don't want to get into the news every day. So this is like a nice little place to kind of gather what you're looking for throughout the week. We try our best. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, Rude Tube. Yeah, we'll call him Rude Tube. How about that? All right, well, get out there, everybody. Be careful. I know there's a heat wave coming our way. So stay hydrated and stay cool out there. Special thanks to Blake Walley and everybody watching. Subscribe, like, hit the hearts button, the thumbs up, the confetti. Wherever you're watching, hit the thing, interact with the stuff, leave a comment, share the content, subscribe. Thank you. We appreciate you. We love you. And we'll talk to you again soon. Take care, everyone.